Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're checking out Overly Sarcastic production where Red goes into Yuki-Onna, Loki nearly kills everyone again, and the Great Zodiac Race. I think I've heard a bit about the last one, but I don't know why I've heard about the last one, so I'm not going to say anything because I don't actually understand how I've even heard of this before. It's kind of freaking me out now that I think about it. So I'm going to do what I usually do. I completely forget about this thing that never happened. And hopefully remember later on the thing that's freaking me out of it. More importantly, you guys know the deal. Link below, original video, hit it up, and I'm going to go have a mental breakdown while I get the videos ready.
In my climatological neck of the woods, February is a cold, gray month of winter limping over the finish line.
Oh, because South has the reverse seasons. It literally took me a second to realize. Oh yeah, by the way, other hemispheres.
Beautiful snowstorms and cold blue cloud-brushed skies and crystal clear ice formations are an ephemeral thing of the past, and thanks to the march of cars and time, the gunge has set in. February.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to empathize with this so much. For anyone who wasn't aware, I grew up and lived in the PA area where this is kinda everything that's not summer. Grunge.
Is left with dingy snowmelt, slush, and monotonously overcast skies.
And very
but
slippery.
It is because of this seasonal fatigue that February is also known as a month of romance. When the beauty of winter fades, we appreciate beauty in other ways, and when Valentine's Day rolls around, the deluge.
Is this 3 months ago? What did this come? February. This was the Valentine's Day episode, wasn't it? I was not expecting that one.
Pink drowns out the last days of winter and makes us briefly forget the cold. But waiting outside the warmth of romance and broad conceptual togetherness is the cold that never really goes away. And today,
obligatory Happy Singles Awareness Day reaction. Yeah.
I've managed to find a story that covers both sides of the Valentine's season, the love and the winter. Today's festive folktale was translated from Japanese by Greek expat and prototypical weeb Lafcadio Hearn and compiled in his 1904 book Quaidon, a collection of Japanese ghost stories published shortly before.
Can I just go back a second? Standard Japanese style there, looks cool. And then
Lafcadio Hearn and compiled in his.
This is absolutely terrifying. Giant skulls, man, they get me.
1904 book
specifically
Quaidon,
screaming like a little
collection of Japanese ghost stories published shortly before his death. Allegedly, this folktale was told to him by a farmer named Nishitamagori as a local bit of folklore, but obviously that is a little bit hard to confirm. Still, that's better than a lot of turn-of-the-century folklore citation, and structurally this one does have a lot in common with other folktales in the region.
Oh, see, I've heard of the Yuki-Onna story mostly because of Yu Yu Hakusho, but I wasn't aware that this was actually based on a weeb, probably from Britain, I'm assuming, going there and transcribing folktales heard orally. I was assuming it would be written down somewhere as just one of the old works, but was that really the earliest time it's come up?
With the tentative certainty that it's probably about as legit a Japanese folktale as we can get, today let's tell a story of a snow maiden, the Yuki-Onna. Our story begins in the Musashi province, the area of modern-day Tokyo, where an old woodcutter and his young protege Minokichi are plying their trade in a wintry forest. But while they're out and about, a heavy snow...
This isn't good. A blizzard will kill you, and not even notice. Not even a little? Well, I mean, it might still ignore you. Like a cat.
And our intrepid heroes find themselves trapped on the wrong side of the river, far away from town, with nothing but an empty ferryman's hut to shelter them for the night, without even a place to build a fire. They tuck up as best they can, and while the old woodcutter conks out almost immediately, Minokichi stays awake for long hours, listening to the howling winds of the storm. But despite the circumstances, he eventually manages to get to sleep.
Really? Just throwing an Astro Boy there? Is Astro Boy in copyright? I'm not sure if it would be. I mean, I know the earliest Mickey Mouse says it might actually be free now.
Which is a mistake because he wakes up to the door standing wide open, snow blowing into the hut, and a woman dressed all in white standing over his mentor, breathing a stream of icy mist over him. Minokichi obviously finds this very distressing, and the nightmare only intensifies when he realizes he can't move, and all he can do is watch as the ethereal snow woman finishes her mysterious work and turns her attention to him. Even in this moment of...
If I ask her if she's single, will she kill me faster or slower? Oh, wow. I mean, people have done dumber things.
Absolute frozen terror, Minokichi can't help but notice how...
Really, Red? Frozen terror? I get the pun is not even a pun right now. He can't move. But also, really? A snow woman? Frozen terror? Just jealous she got to it first.
Stone cold gorgeous she is, and it seems the feeling is mutual because she stops and whispers to him that she was planning on doing him what she just did to his master, but on closer inspection she realized he's pretty, so she's decided to spare him. But she warns him that if he ever tells anyone about her,
But if you tell anyone I said you were too pretty to murder, I will know. There go my bragging. Those are, geez, bragging rights.
Or what just happened, she will hunt him down and kill him. With that, she
Kinky.
walks out and vanishes into the storm. Minokichi, now magically unfrozen, unfortunately finds his mentor frozen dead. And when the ferryman arrives the next morning, he finds
First dead mentor, huh? It never gets easier. Oh my god.
Minokichi unconscious and ill
Why does
next
he
to
have
the
so
body of the
many?
old woodcutter. Minokichi gradually recovers from his mysterious ordeal, which
You could try fishing. That nice Urashima boy met his wife fishing. Urashima? It's probably a video I just haven't seen yet. Yeah, I've definitely never met any girls woodcutting.
of
Nope.
course refuses to tell anyone any details about beyond the storm stranding them for the night. And eventually he recovers enough to go back to his job of woodcutting. And one day, while he's out on the road, he crosses paths with a young woman who introduces herself to him as Oyuki, which the
What a surprise to meet a fellow traveler. A lovely surprise. Translator, isn't it? Oyuki means snow, but it's totally fine and normal. I don't see what could possibly be going on here. This makes literally no sense. I mean, it's completely normal.
story helpfully informs us is a very common name and not a red flag at all. She's very sweet and very polite and more than a little gorgeous,
And definitely didn't murder your mentor. That definitely didn't happen. I mean, she's a completely different person. You know, my mom thinks woodcutters don't meet cute girls. Want to help me prove her wrong? Sounds fun.
after some lovely conversation, Minokichi invites her to his home, where her good manners immediately endear her to Minokichi's mother.
I knew woodcutting was a winner. You'll never believe what happened to that Urashima boy. Mom. I'm assuming something happened. It's probably a video I haven't seen yet.
And the town overall. Predictably enough, this meet-cute blossoms into a romance, and shortly thereafter, a wedding. Minokichi and Oyuki share a beautiful marriage, and eventually
So this is cute and all, but the video's not over yet, and this is a folktale. Something is going to go bad. I don't know nearly enough about this one to know what's though.
10 kids, though some
Whoa.
of the townsfolk know
God damn. I swear she's getting younger. Some people have all the luck.
that Oyuki certainly doesn't look like a woman who's had 10 kids, and is just as ethereally young and beautiful as she was the day she arrived. Which is probably fine. Just good genetics, I guess, nothing to worry about. One late night, after the children have been put to bed, Minokichi sees Oyuki sewing by the light of a lamp, and is momentarily struck. In the pale, dim light, she bears a strange and uncanny resemblance to that half-forgotten stormy night so many years ago. He says as much, and when she asks him what he means, he tells
Minnie? You just reminded me of the weirdest night of my life. Oh? Does telling her about it count? Because, I mean, technically he's not telling anyone else.
her about the
So, caveat, that it was probably a dream, but a beautiful snow woman might have killed my boss and said I was cute.
dreamlike encounter he had with the deadly Yuki-Onna that killed his mentor, the only thing he's ever seen that matched the beauty of his wife, but in such a strange and unearthly way that he found it utterly terrifying. Now, we may recall that the
I could have sworn she said something else, too. Nah, can't remember it. Not important.
Yuki-Onna told Minokichi that if he ever told anybody about that night, she would find and kill him. And because Minokichi seems to have forgotten that, Oyuki helpfully reminds him of what she told him all those years ago. The wind kicks up, and Oyuki begins to dissolve into snow, telling Minokichi that if it weren't for their children sleeping in the other room, she'd be true to her word and kill him then and there. And if
Does it really count, though, if he's telling her about the thing she already told him about because she was there? Our kids still need a parent. Fail to be one, and I will know. Oh, why would you put up the second part? Now he's going to fuck up somehow.
he ever fails to be a good father to their children, she'll be back to finish the job. With one final death threat to
Huh?
bookend
She
their
really did think
relationship
I
the
was
way it
cute.
began, she turns into a wisp of snow and vanishes into the night. And that's where the story ends.
Really?
A lot of fascinating layers to this.
Seriously? Usually these stories are followed up by, and then he accidentally lost one of his kids to a stupid accident and he was taken back by his wife and murdered horribly. It kind of is what I was expecting to happen. Are there other versions of this myth? I mean, it's only one of the Fables and Folktales, which I don't think I've seen this specific diatribe she's done. Well, not really diatribe, but subsection of their content. I guess it's not nearly as deep diving as some of the mythology lore where she goes into multiple iterations. I need to watch more of those.
This one, considering how bite-sized it is. I think the moral of this story is that any relationship that starts with an NDA is doomed right from the jump.
Next up, we have Loki nearly kills everyone again, which I'm sure is not going to be a thing that has happened in multiple other videos, if only because in the other ones he actually did kill someone.
Here's a fun existential question to ponder at 11 a.m. on a Friday. How do you
What?
kill a god? At first glance, this might sound like an impossible thought.
I mean, considering you're talking about Loki, I'm assuming mistletoe, but this is almost not actually.
Thought experiment. Gods and immortality
Or
conceptually
Ragnarok.
go hand in hand most of the time. Modern fantasy or urban fantasy stories will often world build a paradigm
Tiamat?
where gods are utterly unkillable so long as they are
A lot of gods died in this one. Hell, not even always other gods. Yeah, I'm not sure D&D is the best choice here.
believed in and experience a slow diminishment into non-existence as their worship dries up. But that's very overcomplicated compared to the source material. Mythological
the Star
gods
Trek
die
one?
all the time all around the world. The problem is it just doesn't usually stick. A god who gets shot with mistletoe
It's like this is essentially the equivalent of fan fiction of Marvel. It's 1,000 different stories. Who'd have thought that?
or ripped into pieces or dies in childbirth usually
gets
just gets
better.
some prophecy of resurrection or
Wake me up and Fimbulwinter. Oh, instead of November, it's Fimbulwinter. I just got the pun. You got me on that one, Red.
posts up in the local underworld and becomes a god of death. It's not like they
Yep.
stop being a god just because somebody murdered
different
them.
god.
This does vary, and it's an easy mistake to lump together all mythologies into the same overarching paradigm as if they have anything in common beyond having at some point in history been a living religion somewhere in the world. In some pantheons, age and death seem pretty alien to the gods. The Greek gods don't really worry about either most of the time, and even getting ripped to pieces or eaten is just a minor inconvenience equated to imprisonment.
Oh, yeah, like the
Contrastingly,
Egyptian gods that
Egyptian
did
gods
age.
do have myths where they die, but very few where they stay dead. Most interestingly, they even have stories about gods getting old, usually Ra becoming aged and unfit for the throne to justify why the current pharaoh's favorite furry deserves a turn on the sunboat.
But wait, wasn't the current furry that replaced him Isis? As far as I was aware, doesn't she not have any like furry aspects? There was probably other gods predating her, and there was a habit of replacing Ra with the other ones, most likely.
But if there's one pantheon of gods that's widely known to be more killable than most, it's the Norse. Now, the Norse pantheon is also distinguished by the fact that pretty much every text we have about it was written after the Norse religion had been replaced by Christianity, and the Norse gods were no longer being actively worshipped.
This is one of the things I'm always hoping they make another video about. Like, hey, by the way, new discovery. They just got a whole new text, and they're just translating it now, and here's a video about it. It could happen. We found the Rosetta Stone, and that's older-ish, maybe. I don't know. But I would love it if something else was suddenly discovered in a cave that no one had accessed because maybe there was a landslide covering it. Yeah, this is literally where my thoughts go whenever I get to mythology and old shit like this. I want to know more, and the only way we can do it is if someone happened to accidentally preserve something really well. This is an example of hope triumphing over rationality.
Most prominent sources for Norse mythology, and the source for today's myth, was Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, written in Iceland in the early 1200s BCE, with a very intentional twist of nerfing the Norse gods. The prologue puts a lot of effort into coming up with an intricate explanation for how the supposed
Greek.
Norse gods were all actually great lords and ladies from Trojan War Troy, who the superstitious people of Western Europe foolishly took for gods, telling
The irony being that what actually happened to the people who were lords and ladies of Troy is that they went and founded Rome. So, irony.
tall tales of mythologized exploits of these very normal human beings.
I should probably clarify the irony there, that Snorri was very much looking for a unifying force against the people in the South who would have been the proto-Roman or the actual Roman. I'm not entirely sure which one it was at that point, or even the successor Roman. When it comes to dates, I suck. So, yeah, he's painting his gods to unify us behind, but also not so strong that they can't be, Christian better. Is also literally the people who are technically trying to unite against. It doesn't quite work out that way, but it just is amusing to me.
Pope tested, Jesus approved. Thankfully, this is not a bit that Snorri commits to when it comes to the actual retelling of the myths in question, which are pretty clear on the gods being gods, but it does mean that almost every story we have from the Norse pantheon was being documented with the benefit of hindsight, and in many cases, an explicit effort on the part of the writer to humanize the gods. And it is interesting that one of the most famous myths in Norse mythology is how the gods all know that they are destined to perish horribly in the inescapable fires of Ragnarok.
And this is one of the parts that I'm actually really glad she brought up in a different video. How Snorri being so completely in on Ragnarok might actually be a mistranslation. Let's put it that way. Not so much a mistranslation, but a misdocumentation, because this is what he was trying to focus on as, and this is why they're great, but they were replaced, and I don't need to be hung or strung up as a heretic. I don't know if they would do that at the time, but I'm assuming there's always going to be at least one person who would like to do that because it's never stopped. But it's entirely possible that everything about Ragnarok might have not been that important prior to Snorri making it important. I just love that little detail. Again, this is stuff Red's covered in other videos, but I just love bringing it up because it does seem so important.
The twilight of the gods. So evidence suggests that even before Christianization, the Norse gods were definitely not immortal. In fact, as we'll learn today, it turns out they're not even naturally ageless. So today, let's talk about the time Loki nearly ruined everything. No, not that time. Not the big one either. Nearly is the opera.
Wait. Did they just throw Jesus in there?
Time Loki nearly ruined everything. No, not that time. Not the big one.
Oh, Balder. That's Balder. Yeah. Yeah, because mistletoe. Yeah, okay, I see it.
One either. Nearly is the operative word. Twilight is still a long ways off. It's only the tea time of the gods. Our story begins with Odin, Loki, and a dubiously relevant other guy trekking through...
Not appearing in this film. Oh my god. Okay. This is probably one of the funniest animation, not even an animation, just an image I've seen her draw in a while, and I absolutely love this. I'm pretty sure it's a Monty Python reference, and if it's not, I'm going to believe it is because it amuses me even more.
Through the wilderness. In the interest of not starving to death, they snag a random ox and murder it into a healthy snack by way of an improvised oven. But when they check on the cooking progress, the meat is stubbornly unaffected by the flames.
So flames didn't kill it, but cutting it up did? I don't think it's going to make it to medium rare. Loki better not be missing with me again. Oh, Loki for heat.
After confirming that it isn't a one-time thermodynamic fluke, it becomes clear that something is magically preventing their dinner from cooking. And that something turns out to be an eagle posted up on a nearby tree that demands...
Sorry, Almighty Allfather, you only get to eat if you brought enough to share. Sounds fair? In what realm? I'm assuming someone else's.
Share of the meat before they roast it to perfection. The godly trio agree and quickly regret it when the eagle grabs all the best parts of the cow and horfs them down post-haste. Loki in particular is extra mad and whacks the errant raptor with a stick, which would probably work wonders on any ordinary bird, but goes very badly with this magic one, because the stick gets stuck and the eagle flies off, dragging Loki behind it.
If you're worried they're cursed, I don't need to... Wait, what? You guys still take rings, right? Oh, I missed that part.
Very badly with this magic one, because the stick gets stuck and the eagle flies off, dragging Loki behind it and steering him face first into every appealingly sharp rock or tree along the way.
Damn. Also, I get over here, he's basically being a horrible, horrible Norse god and proving that they're just ripping someone off because he's paying in rings that are cursed and he's only promising not to tip if they don't take the cursed ring. Or to tip if they don't take it.
When Loki's bravado has been sufficiently rock-smacked out of him, the eagle quietly gives him the terms of his release. It'll stop knocking him around, but only on the condition that on a day of the eagle's choosing, Loki will lure the goddess Idun out of...
Bring me the goddess Idun and all her magical apples. Damn! You know, Loki's always paying as the trickster here, but he's getting played. And considering Red previously pointed out how one of Loki's tactics is not subtlety and wit, or, well, political shenanigans or charisma. He's good at being tricky. He's bad at making people listen to him.
Of the safe confines of Asgard, along with her magical apples that are responsible for the Aesir's eternal youth. And Loki agrees. The eagle releases him and flies away, and...
Pay me back and I'll give you the last slice. I'm not hungry.
The trio wrap up their journey and return home. And when the appointed day rolls around, Loki...
It's the darndest thing! I guess they really do grow on trees. Fascinating. Apples, yeah.
Lures Idun out of Asgard with the claim that he's found apples growing in the wild that look just like her magic ones, and she should definitely bring them all with...
I don't know, Loki. I think this might just be a normal apples. Take a really close look.
With her to check. While she investigates, the eagle swoops down and abducts her. Although by now, Loki has realized its true identity. The eagle is nothing but a magical transformation taken on by the powerful Jotun Thjatsi. Without either of her apples, the Aesir...
Did wielding Mjolnir always hurt my back? Yep. 2 more gray hairs back here. 2!
Immortality turns out to be highly conditional, and they all start aging rather alarmingly. The Aesir convene a meeting to try and figure out what the hell is happening and where Idun has vanished off to, and they quickly put together that the last time anyone saw her, she was leaving Asgard with Loki. Well, that'd do it. Loki is standing before the Parliament of God.
She made Odin look even older by giving him reading glasses. Olden. Loki, buddy, if you don't fix this, you're gonna wish I let you die of old age. Squeak. Wait, did Loki not age?
Gods and threatened with an assortment
he's
of
not
creatively horrible fates until he's sufficiently terrified to agree to save the world again. He borrows Freya's feather cloak, takes the
I'm sorry, I just absolutely love seeing the subtle differences Red has done for the art style. Just the small little lines around the face and the eye under the, I guess that would be around where the nose would be. Dude. And of course, cutting out all the color from the hair and just making it gray. It's a subtle change, but it does actually really change how the character looks. I must say, you aged very gracefully. Don't push it. Yes, ma'am.
The form of a falcon and flies over to Jotunheim for the rematch of the century that he desperately does not want to do. Lucky for Loki, Yahtzee is
Loki, I've got a few complaints. Get in line, sister!
in home, and Ethan is relatively unguarded, so he hastily transforms her and the precious apples of youth into a travel-sized nut and flies away as hard as he can. Regrettably, it's still...
So Loki got his nut. But the guy after it is all blue. You know, I'm going to be the bigger man on this one and not say anything.
Not fast enough, as when Yahtzee comes home from a
Who
hard
could
day's
have done
fishing and
this?
finds his favorite hostage missing in action, he does what everybody in the Norse myths
Good one. Pajazzy. This time I better make sure to break all his bones. Does that work for a shapeshifter? Not gonna think about it too hard.
And figures Loki did it. He goes back into eagle mode
accurate.
and tears off after Loki, kicking up a huge storm in his wake. Meanwhile, in Asgard,
I'm sorry, I need to see that again.
back into eagle mode and tears off after Loki, kicking up a huge
Oh my god, Loki is just going, I hate this. Bird sad Loki.
storm in his wake. Meanwhile, in Asgard, the geriatric deities see...
What do you think I'm done? I think I need to ask the dwarves for a stronger glasses prescription. Ah! I'm sorry, I absolutely love her drawing old people. This is hilarious.
Or, more realistically here, Loki panicking on the horizon, and set about figuring out how to save him from his terrifying pursuer. What they settle on is building a really big fire behind the walls of Asgard.
Goddamn, that ought to do it. And you just see them bringing over wood. Oh my god.
With the superior mobility of a falcon, Loki drops to safety as soon as he clears the wall.
Yeah.
But Yahtzee's giant eagle form suffers the curse of all three of Newton's laws, and the momentum plows him headfirst into the flames. The Aesir all dog pile on while he's distracted by being on fire, and a glorious victory is won the only way.
So the Aesir did their old-fashioned thing and tricked someone and then piled on him. But they're old, which makes it funny.
The Norse gods know how. Gratuitous, heavy metal album cover levels of bloodshed. When the feathers finish flying, Ethan is restored to replace among the gods. And thanks to her apples, everybody gets to be young and hot again, so the Aesir can really look and feel their best when they all die horribly in, like, a week? Maybe 2.
Anyway, we still on for chucking weapons at Baldur next week? Of course, he's been looking forward to it all month.
If Loki needs a nap after that. Can't perish gloriously in an apocalyptic conflagration if you ain't cute. Help me if you...
And last up, we have the Great Zodiac Race, which... You know, I've been trying to think of all the ways I've possibly heard of this, and I'm just going to assume it was Wishbone at this point, because if I know random stories from being a kid, it's either Wishbone or Reading Rainbow, somewhere on PBS. I cannot think of anything else. At this point, if I think about it any further, I'm just going to admittedly stay at the same level of lack of sanity I already have, because nothing really could change at this point. So nothing will change, but it's kind of bugging me still.
I love how many calendars we have access to now. You know, like a calendar is a ridiculously useful tool for any given society to have. Lets you keep track of all sorts of important things, like birthdays and eclipses and your many long years plotting vengeance in the Chateau d'If. But now that we've had all this cross-cultural
Count of Monte Cristo, Chateau d'If.
Contact, everyone's been comparing notes, and we've got tons of calendars rattling around, and layers and layers of significance stacked on every day of the year.
I mean, there's at least a few very usable ones floating around right now. There's the... Christianic one, which is more CE, or I think it's CE now, Common Era. And then there's lunar calendars, there's celestial calendars, there's the Chinese calendar, which there's, I think, a Japanese calendar, which is really similar to the Chinese calendar, but I'm not actually sure what the differences are. So at least those are the ones in current use. Then there's the old ones, and I honestly would love to see a video about old calendars. Sorry, just kind of surprised about that, considering that's such a boring thing to say, but it sounds kind of awesome to me. Huh.
Here. For instance, back in the tail end of January, you might have heard we were going into the Year of the Dragon, and thought, like any sensible person, holy shit, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. This is according to the calendar of the Chinese Zodiac, a 12-year cycle where every year is associated with an animal. Among other things, the year you're born in has a zodiac animal associated and a whole suite of extra meanings attached.
I have no idea what mine is.
As a card-carrying astrology disliker, it may come as a surprise that I'm actually very fond of the idea of assigning meaning and context to specific dates and times, especially when I was a kid.
Okay, I didn't actually know she didn't like astrology, but considering she doesn't seem to be talking about the healing power of geodes, I'm not too surprised. There's a very specific type. If you've met them, I am so sorry for reminding you. I am legitimately sorry right now. I have done that. It's not fun, man. They are insane, and they are rabid. For anyone who hasn't, run. Just don't. Don't let your friends get into that kind of stuff, man. It is crazy. And it also gets really expensive really fast because rocks aren't cheap.
Kid, I got a huge kick out of learning new and exciting stuff about my birthday, like what semi-precious stone it meant I was associated with, or what classical element I had an affinity to.
Admittedly, there's a museum I used to work at. I think it was the Oakland Art Museum. And they had, in the natural history side, an entire room with the gemstones. Like, oh, here's your birth month. But then they had these really beautiful gems of different size and quality, and some were made into things. It was so freaking cool. It's the only reason I learned that mine was somewhere on this list.
But by far my favorite was when I first heard the story we're going to talk about today. See, there's a pretty widespread folktale explaining why the animals of the Chinese zodiac are in the order that they're in.
And they took a race, and that's how they got their orders.
Have specific animals associated with them. And that's when I learned that I'm a Year of the Rat kid.
Did I actually learn about this by Fruit Baskets? Because that's weird. I never finished that anime or manga. No, it couldn't be that, because I've only ever seen a bit of it here and there. It can't be that.
You try telling a kindergartner that their magical, super cool zodiac animal is a rat and see what face they make.
Oh my god, is that Baby Red? This is Baby Red! Oh, it's adorable.
Some people have tigers or dragons, and I got a rat.
Yeah.
This displeased my baby sense of aesthetics. Not only was my animal the smallest of the bunch, it was categorically the lamest. Didn't even have good heel qualities like the snake.
Yeah.
But my ears were perked when I was informed that actually the rat is the very first animal in the zodiac cycle.
I mean, also, there's an entire joke in there about Skaven, but let's not go that way. Yes, good.
Because the animals all had a great race, and the rat won. That brightened me up very quickly.
Ha! Ooh. I recognize that tone. I think it's Nightwish. Well, it's hard work being number one.
Maybe it was okay being a Year of the Rat kid, if it meant being a born winner. This is around the time I realized that because of the way school works, almost everyone else in my kindergarten classroom was also a Year of the Rat kid.
Yeah.
So my bragging rights for that dried up pretty quickly.
Yay, we're winners. Cool. I'm a tiger. Because you always have that one kid who's from the previous year who's so much older. And everyone's like, whoa, he's so big. And you're like, later on, oh, he's older, but he's dumber. Just looking back, it always feels that way.
But anyway, let's talk about the Great Race. Now, as an incredibly widespread folktale, the Great Race does not have a singular source that I can just pull off the shelf and summarize as a definitive version. The ordering of the animals is always the same, obviously, but there are a lot of different variations on the exact details of the story. So today we're going to talk about one of them with the understanding that there are a ton of them, and we're all going to be cool about it. Okay? All right.
Oh, I would love if she went into a comparative section right now. Talking about, here's the first version, here's the second version, here's a dozen others. I like that kind of comparative mythology. It's literally one of the coolest things I can imagine because you can make so many assumptions based on how it changed and where that change came from. I like everything Red does, but when she gets into the nitty gritty, those are some of my favorite videos on YouTube, man.
Now our story begins as...
Jade Emperor. Good news, everyone. We're going to start timekeeping. Yay! I've always wanted a birthday.
Do with a decree from the Jade Emperor. See, he's decided he wants some new heavenly spirits around to guard the years of the calendar, and the earlier the prospective hires show up, the better their rank will be.
Please tell me when they get to Year of the Monkey. It's son Wukong being kicked out because he doesn't want to deal with this.
News of this impromptu race spreads, and a multitude of animals start making their way to the Jade Emperor's heavenly palace. But this isn't just a simple overland sprint. The way is barred by a swift river.
Good luck, everyone!
All the mountains
now where's the cat?
The journey to the west more complicated, so the animals need to find a way to ford the rushing waters. The rat and the cat are by far the...
Oh yeah, the best part of our plan is we won't even get our feet wet. A win you have to work for isn't a win at all.
worst swimmers of the bunch, and they know it. So the night before the race, they put their heads together and come up with a scheme to hitch a...
Also, just randomly, cats are actually really good swimmers. They just hate water. I only know this because every now and again you find a cat who's actually really okay with water, and they're really good at it, and it's kind of freaky. Yeah, I don't get it either, but it's a thing that can happen.
Ride with one of the other animals. The rat promises to wake the cat first thing in the morning, and they bunker down for a good night's sleep. But either because it slipped the rat's mind,
Immortality, here I comes. First immortality, then the fishes.
or because the rat didn't want to deal with the competition, the rat slips away in the morning with the cat napping peacefully and none the wiser. Personally, I feel like the rat is entirely blameless in this situation. Cat should have set an alarm. The race begins and the animals plunge into the water. First on the ticket is the ox, who's sturdy enough to just kind of brute force it. He pushes his way through and makes his way to the
This is going great. You see the Jade Emperor tanning.
other side, but it turns out the ox had a hitchhiker.
buddy.
The noble and extremely charismatic rat was hanging out just behind his ear, and when the ox makes landfall...
Noble. I love how she's so incredibly biased on this. The rat who is noble and charismatic, he is awesome. The rat is the best because he is cutting and not dickish at all. Great moves. Love the hustle. It's all about teamwork, sir. You're welcome.
On the other side of the river, the rat leaps off and sprints to the finish line, taking home the gold with the ox in a comfortable second place. Bringing up third is the tiger, who had a very unpleasant
Speaking of cats swimming, you okay there, champ? Just a little waterlogged.
time fighting the current, but was just badass enough to make it to the other side through sheer strength alone. And hot on the tiger's heels is the rabbit, who...
Honestly, I don't even know if they can swim. I'm starting to feel bad about this. Just a little bit. What kind of rabbit would I be if I didn't run a race? I'd never hear the end of it. I wonder if there's actually a cultural relationship between the rabbit and the hare. Sorry, tortoise and the hare and this race. It would be funny if that actually was one of them playing into the other, or someone made one based on having heard the other. And considering all the videos she's talked about where you saw the movement of ideas, I wouldn't even be surprised if that was the case.
was making
It'd be
good
weird,
time
but
hopping
sure.
from rock to rock, but had a bit of a spill and barely survived by clinging to a log until it reached the other shore. In inexplicable fifth place is
The Flying Dragon! Yeah, no disrespect to our esteemed winners, but I was kind of expecting you to set the curve on this one. Yes, well...
the divine dragon, who can fly, so what's his excuse? It's actually
Lazy.
pretty good. He got delayed because he was granting life-giving rain to the people of Earth who needed it, and then at the last minute he got held up again because he happened
This isn't your natural habitat, is it? Au contraire, I was born on the road to victory. But yes, I am drowning.
to see this rabbit drown, and he gave it a little bit of a rescue. Acts of do-gooding are as good a reason as any to turn up late, and the dragon gets fifth place. This is around the time the horse makes it through the water.
Looks
but
majestic.
just before he can reach the shore, he has a moment of clarity and realizes he didn't somehow acquire a fashionable new ankle bracelet, and instead has a snake on his leg. And this freaks him out so much that the snake flies merrily into
No, I'm with the horse on this one. If I saw a random snake clung around my leg, I would do more than just have a panic attack. Very clever. Thanks.
sixth place, and the horse has to be happy with seventh. Things get a smidge complicated with the next
Jackie Chan Adventures. This had to be from Jackie Chan Adventures. That's where I knew this. And if it's not, I'm going to pretend it is. That makes more sense.
few runners. Apparently, the goat, the monkey, and the rooster had some
Definitely no relation to Journey to the West in these characters. This has been the most meaningful journey of my life. No monkey could ask for a greater adventure. I want you both to know that I consider you my family.
some sort of power of
Boy, there
friendship
was a
moment
pig.
and decided to work together, finding and steering a raft across the river and not betraying each other even a little bit. The Jade
Oh.
Emperor is pleasantly surprised and
Teamwork is truly the greatest victory of all, or at least the 8th place victory of all. Yeah.
gives the goat 8th place, the monkey 9th, and the rooster 10th. Yeah, that's right,
Sizest.
rooster. That's what teamwork gets you. 11th place is taken by the dog, who
Yeah, it's just shaggy and cute. How was the swim? Great. I saw a stick and a horse and a lotus and a fish. And yeah, that's a dog, all right.
despite being a dang
Aw.
good swimmer, is also a dog who got turned loose in a water park, so he ran a
Squirrel!
little late. And finally, bringing up the rear is the boar, who made it
Oh yeah, I forgot about the boar. Oh my god. Why are her dogs so adorable? Look at the floof on him. Oh my god, Red. All the other animals, cute. The dog, oh wow. It's just shaggy and floofy. I want to go pet a dog now. I prefer a nice round number. Bream.
a self-care day, eating a big breakfast, having a nice nap, and really just taking the day at his own pace. And you know
And still made it before the cat. It stopped raining. Everybody's in the plane. Don't you know? It's a beautiful new day. Is that a song? No, I can't place it.
What? It
Maybe it's
worked.
something open.
Take that, grind set. With the menagerie assembled and the ordering solidly established, the 12 Zodiac animals are placed in their permanent position, and the rat gets to enjoy that sweet gold place victory forever. Which I'm sure was tempered only slightly by the cat's vow of eternal blood feud vengeance for being sabotaged into sleeping through the whole race. Incidentally, providing a handy explanation for why there is no cat in the Chinese Zodiac, and further, why cats of all stripes have such a fondness for disemboweling their little furry former friends. Which sounds like sore loser behavior to me. Or maybe the cat chases the rat because they're just so used to the view from last place.
Is she playing Smash Mouth? No, it couldn't be that.
Oh, I don't know. Who said that? Well, the years start coming and...
Okay, so it was Smash Mouth. I didn't realize it was. And then Red started covering it. She's saying Rockstar. All-Star? Gang Stars? I don't actually know the name of that song. Huh. I don't really care, but at the same time, it's also just a little weird. More importantly, though, Red did a good job covering it, but also I just really love this one, and I'm sorry, it's still kind of weird that I know I've heard this story. It's probably Jackie Chan Ventures, because Zodiac was such a major part of the best things in that show, but I'm not sure, and it's still bugging me, damn it. That's it. I love this. I love that we got to see little baby Red being all happy, and then less so. But that was so freaking cute, and the dog she drew was so floofy. The only thing I wish is that she had gone into more detail about the other variations of the story to see how they changed, if there was like location-based differences that were more specific. Essentially exactly what she did for some of the God videos. I can understand this not being as big a giant video as those, but I would have absolutely loved that, just because I love when she gets into the weeds. It's just so fun and usually well researched and informative, which is the best thing ever. Which reminds me, I still need to set up that live stream where I'm going to do a comparative history of the Bronze Age between Blue when he did his coverage of that and Simon Whistler when he also did the same thing. I want to see how they agree, what they disagree with, and not to mention just the different aspects of that. It'll be a live stream I set up eventually, and probably to get over the taste of, oh God, why am I doing this when I have to live stream 50 Shades of Grey. There's a donation goal. Someone purchased 2 chapters I have to read live. I hate everything about this. But if I don't remind myself now, I will forget for another year. Yeah. Well, actually, one of the chapters was a year. The other was not so long ago. Still hate this. Yeah. More importantly, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original videos. Hit them up, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.